Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join this discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Chocolate Saiyan, Arwin, Anon Moto, Paul and 10th Man, together with Quantum Eraser on Skype and G+. Welcome one and all.
Hello, hello.
Good afternoon.
Wow, that was enthusiastic. We're also joined by a whole bunch of people on Discord. Very good to have you all also. Hello Nathan, it's really good to hear. Oh, I'm so pleased. It's so exciting to be live.
Maybe they're nervous.
They're all hiding in the shadows.
We didn't get through housekeeping last time, which is kind of good in a way, because it means that it's not inappropriate to do it again, because this is technically the second live show. If you're watching this on Sunday, Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, welcome as well. Any signs of Earth curvature?
Nope.
Not on the Earth.
Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nope. Nope.
Nope. Nope, because then you would need actual curvature, and that curvature would have to be cumulative to the point where it becomes a ball, and then you can have an axis. And then how you put an axis on a ball, I'm not really sure. Okay.
On Earth,
Oh yeah.
But is there any
Go on.
is there any axial rotation of the non-Earth-based variety?
Yeah. Bicycle wheel.
Yeah.
It's got an axis. It rotates.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
It's because we've been saying it so often. You can only associate it with Earth-based variety. That's fair enough.
Hence the phrasing of the question.
The reason it's got of the Earth-based variety on the end of it, Earth-shaped investigator, is because whenever bloody Ranty was on the show, he would definitely come up. I'm not even going to repeat any of them. He'd definitely come up with some axial rotation examples that weren't Earth-based. Let's just put it that way.
I used to do that.
Don't come up with it anymore. I don't want this to start up new rude axial rotation examples, please. Earth-based variety always from now on. I'm just going to kill that dead straight away. Same goes for gravity. Scientific evidence only. Anybody got any? I'm looking at you, Discord.
How about a bucket of sand?
Bucket of sand is not scientific evidence of gravity.
What? Gravity?
What about just the word gravity? Or can you just do away with the word? It's kind of like in the lexicon now.
Well, first we got to figure out what it is.
It's
in there, but nobody knows what it actually is.
It's just weight, right? Gravity equals weight.
Just let me just make a comparison, right? You kind of like saying, David, can we do away with donkeys? They're kind of in the farm now.
Exactly.
So you're saying, can we do away with a word that is firmly cemented in the lexicon?
I just don't know how you're going to do it. Gravity means
not.
something. I mean, everybody understands that it means
Yeah,
weight.
it
but
comes
they've
from
added on-
gravitas, meaning weight. That's it.
If I think about gravity, then it means weight to me.
Lovely.
But I
Have you
don't
Yeah,
know.
I just said that.
The problem is the definition of it itself. So it might be a word in the lexicon, but we're trying to define it by asking for scientific validity to the assertions that follow from the word. So based on what people describe it as here on this debate, we're asking for scientific validity of the claims made about that word, gravity. So any scientific evidence of gravity.
No, I don't think so.
Fair enough. Let's get to something much more exciting.
No, wait. I was. We're gonna continue it for a short while. It's just like this gravity. Okay, so we know what it supposedly is, right? The bending of space-time. What does it do?
It bends space time.
No. That's what causes it. But
I
what
can tell
does
you.
it do?
Let me give you the answer. Right. What does it do? Well, let me tell you what it does. It gives rise to a non-force force that you can think of as a force, but it's not actually a force, called gravity. That's what it does.
I mean, that's what it does. It's literally what their argument
No,
is.
but that's a description of what it's supposed to be doing. But what does it actually do?
Oh, actually do.
Where does it originate?
Actually do.
Where
Oh,
does it
nothing.
originate?
Actually, meaning it's real.
Actually, it doesn't do anything. It's a conceptual medium being bent, giving rise to a non-force force that you can think of as a force, but it's not actually a force called gravity. Well, it's not actually doing anything.
It sounds a lot like pseudoscience technobabble from Star Trek, really, when you put that all together.
Exactly.
I got a
Where,
based
where
on
does
what
gravity originate from?
Where's
Where's the
gravity?
origination of it from? Where is it born at?
Oh, bending space-time. Oh, do you mean? Oh, I see what you mean. Before that, it was born in Einstein's mind.
the thought experiment.
But I mean, where does it come from? If everything's pulling down, so
No, everything isn't
it-
pulling down. Where does gravity come from? Einstein's mind.
Einsteinian gravity doesn't do that. We don't know what it does.
Yeah, we do. It gives rise. I've just told you 3 times.
Yeah, but
It's
that's not a
non-force
thing.
Yeah, it is. It gives rise to
like
a
a
non-force
disclaimer.
force that you can think of as a force, but isn't actually a force, called gravity. That's what.
But
it
what
actually
does
is.
that do? That's not a
Nothing.
description of what it
Owen.
actually does.
Do anything. I covered this as well.
Opening the red herring.
It's not. I covered this. Actually doing nothing. Nothing at all. That's what he's actually doing.
Is gravity the reason why all the ballers are trying to reinvent what science is?
Oh no,
Yeah,
that's
because they don't have it.
no, that's a problem from pseudoscience pretender clown muppets such as astrophysicists. When they declare that they are doing science and then they just make up some story, often it proves to be fatally incorrect in many ways. So they have to change their story. That leaves them with a problem because the method they're claiming to have adhered to when they say they've done science is an empirical method. So when you get to the end of a result with that method, you don't have any takebacks. There's no change in the story. You've got an empirical result. So anybody who's changing their story, it's kind of like in a courtroom. You know, the judge listens to you change your story as you go along and goes, bullshit artist. Yeah, well, pseudoscientists do that too. They just use the word science a lot.
Exactly. And now look how much their story is changing to the point where when this started, they used to assert all the time, oh, we have scientific evidence for a globe, right? Then flat earthers actually started asking for this evidence. And now it's, oh, science doesn't prove things because we found them out. You don't have scientific evidence for your globe. You don't have scientific evidence for gravity. How many people assert Cavendish is a scientific experiment proving gravity? It's not even an experiment. Let's start there first. So
Well,
what are we doing?
Credit where
Whatever
credit's due.
Cavendish was supposed to prove,
If
Einstein
gravity starts
also
from the
discounted.
center of Earth, right?
Just wanna-
Because everything is pulled to the center, then it's not a space oriented force. It's a Earth-based force, right? So it radiates out. Is that the way it works?
No, we've just told
not a
Arwen.
force.
Now I'm going to tell you.
Or
Bending space-time, non-force force, giving rise to a force that's not actually a force that you can think of as a force called gravity. I've just told you. Anyway, kudos to Quantum Eraser. The reason we challenge Ball Earth religious tards with their validity with an adherence to the scientific method is because of Quantum Eraser. Nobody else. That's the sole reason we challenge them for their scientific evidence when they say that word. So props to Quantum Eraser.
Yeah.
And what do they say the spinning is caused by? I just don't remember or don't know.
No worries, I can remind you. It's caused by an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy, known as
All right.
No, it's when the
declaring
Big Bang
hemispheres.
happened. It just started spinning and stayed spinning that speed.
Yeah, they presuppose Earth rotation based on you presupposing that you travel antipode to yourself to observe star rotations.
Right.
Makes sense. If you don't think about it.
I like the quiet mutterings after the concise summaries of their bullshit position. They're my favourite thing on the show at the moment. Shout out to Winnie the Brew Bear. White Claw money. That's Owen Benjamin beer, isn't it? White Claw. Hope you redcoats have them. Redcoats? Cheeky swine. Take your money back. I don't want it. No, I'm only joking. Keep it coming. Thank you for the super chat, Winnie the Brew Bear.
That's funny. He called you a red coat.
Yeah, I know. I like it. It's funny. Independence is just a myth.
You're free to say that.
It's just a concept. You bend that independence.
The British could get their tea somewhere else.
Wait. You mean I can't buy $5 worth of freedom? God damn it.
You can have a go at bending it, though, to give rise to a non-force currency. You know what I mean? You can do what you like with concepts. It's amazing.
I love that I went on Facebook the other day, and the quote that I read out a couple times, I'm starting to see it pop up all over the place. It's awesome. That meme with George Muser.
That was really good.
What's the quote?
We can, we do, we must consider Newtonian gravity as a force. Now, that doesn't mean it really is one, but we don't necessarily have to work at the really is level.
Like Clinton.
Classic.
No, that's George
Sure.
Muser. That's George Muser.
You need to stress the really is level.
Don't have to work at the really is level.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you have to bold that. Dude,
We don't
pull
have
one
to
of my
get
maneuvers.
real. That's basically what he's saying.
Yeah, really is level is even better than saying we don't have to get real, because that could almost be taken as slang. We don't have to work at the really is level. It's so specific, it leaves literally no weasel room.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
It's kind of a euphemized expression, though. Instead of just saying, yeah,
Getting real is.
we're just going to imagine this. No, it's the really is. It's kind of like trying to hide it slightly so it doesn't sound so much like not real.
Well, you can paraphrase it and go, rather than how
He
he's...
he even put the really is, when he said really is, he put the air quotes on it.
Oh, yeah, nice.
I mean, come on.
No way! Did he do that?
Yeah.
Yes.
To juxtapose what he's saying, they would prefer to work at the not really level.
Trust
Can
me,
you
I
imagine
rewound
if
that
this
like
is-
a few times because I was just like, I don't believe what I'm hearing. Like, you really just said that it's not something, but we could just pretend it really. I was at a loss for words,
I like to
and people
emphasize,
believe this.
I like to emphasize the you bit. So gravity's not a force, but you, and I'm pointing at you. I'm adding this in square brackets. I'm pointing at you, fundies. You can think of it as a force.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, that really is level. Can you imagine a scientist saying that we don't really have to worry about what's going on at the really is level? What in the world? What a he's a
Exactly.
priest.
Yeah,
Yep.
They're priests of a
And
religion.
Fight the Flat Earth is sitting there like, yes. Well, everything you're saying makes sense.
Yeah,
It all
but
checks out.
Fight the Flat Earth always does that.
No, what he's thinking is, don't move an inch. Don't even blink. I've got to edit this later.
Yes, he did. That's what he did. Yeah. Wow.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah.
There
we
was
caught him
there
doing
was a slight edit in that video, wasn't there? I remember
Yes,
that
there
now,
was. I caught it.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, because I
How
had to go
about
over it 10
defying
15.
gravity?
Yeah, because I had to go over it 10 to 15 times because it didn't have a script, right? A transcript to it. So I had to go over it over and over and over because sometimes you can't really hear what they're saying, and most people can't talk, can't enunciate. So I had to go over and over, and I looked up and I seen a little flip, like a little clip on both sides. So yeah, we're gonna lose all this. Somebody should put this down. We should have like a memory card, right? Like a timeline. Man, I should have done that. If I'd have thought about it, I would have done it from the beginning.
I've been saying this for months. You know, what's your problem? Where's the organisation for these shows? Where's all the titles? I mean, God, if I've asked you once, I've asked you about 1,000 times. But, you know, we can't have these filing systems, and basically everyone should blame QE.
Yeah.
I love that. That's
Did
a
you
Hillary
find the
Clinton
video
move.
yet? Did you
Was that
find
Hillary
it?
Clinton move?
Yeah, it's a Hillary Clinton move. Remember we talked about that, where you blame somebody, you anticipate, and you blame somebody for what you do. That's so like Hillary. The incoherent Hillary Clinton Academy of charging others with what you do. But if you anticipate it, it's even better.
Right. It's the Gaslighting Academy.
Did she accuse somebody of destroying a load of emails? And destroy a load of emails?
I can't remember.
33,000 of them. 33.
33,000. This is made up for news,
Yeah, I love
isn't
this
it?
shit.
Total made up number for news.
Is that Anon?
It is a none.
Hey, sexy boy.
Anon. Hey, I apologize for putting that show out yesterday, but I had to do it. You won't see it again. It was just a one-off.
That show is
I
available
don't know what
to
you're
the
talking
public on Quantum Eraser channel. Be here or be sphere.
It was the show with Slick, and you, all of us were all crazy.
Yeah, the one where you forgot you were on.
Slick.
The one that he gave you the observed phenomenon for the quantum eraser experiment.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean
you
diffraction?
remember Anon?
Hand wave diffraction?
Remember Anon, the one that you said, "Oh, I was never there. I can't remember that." Well, you remember it now.
I mean, you just said
Hey.
you posted something yesterday, so I said I don't know what you're talking about, but now I know what you're talking about. Well, you told me
Oh, on
about
the
the
channel.
observed
Did you
phenomenon
subscribe?
being diffraction. Just the word. Diffraction
Did you
of what?
subscribe yet?
Sound.
Light.
Did you subscribe yet?
Mm. No, I didn't subscribe. I can't listen to you, man. You're kind of annoying.
So why do you come
Gotta
here
grow
or
some
not?
skin.
Come on. Are you
This show
serious?
is more than just fucking what's his sack.
Yeah, but he's here. Right?
Yeah, but I'm not gonna go subscribe and just listen to him for 4 hours, even though I try to listen to the gravity one, because broken clock is right twice a day.
Nobody's strapping
Well
you
said.
down to force you to listen to Quantum Eraser 4 hours straight, okay? You can watch
I
it
will
and then
not.
pause it when you're kind of sick of it, and then continue watching when
Oh,
you feel you can do it again.
I forgot. I do have a Supernatural Bird's Nest episode. Hey, Anon, you're going to be on again. Don't worry. I'll send you a
Sweet.
personal message. I'll send it to you.
Hashtag Anon Moto. Go ahead.
Oh, boy. You're cool. Hey, did you figure out how they come up with wavelength yet?
Hey, did you figure out what's waving?
No, that's a no. Hey, we just went over in the last show. We even time hacked it for you.
Nice.
Yeah. Hey, Nathan, did you tell him how you explained it to your wife and she got it? Nathan.
Okay, Jimbo's getting creepy in chat. Should I just ban him?
Jimbo, don't let me forget about this Nathan point. Looks like there's no one behind the wheel here.
Sorry, my mic had an issue.
Okay. Did you explain to Anon that you explained this to your wife last night in less than 2 minutes and she got it?
Yeah, she's
You know,
probably earwigging the
they
conversation.
explain gravity to 3-year-old and they pretend they got it. You know, so that means nothing.
Oh, are you saying that wavelength is like gravity?
No.
Clown.
Clown.
Oh boy. You actually don't think before you speak, right?
What is gravity?
Clown.
What is is that double D?
Let me just answer David again. I've only said it 3 times to Arwin. This is, I believe, the 3rd time to him. So it's the bending of a conceptual medium known as space-time that gives rise to a force that you can think of as a force but isn't actually a force, called gravity. That's what it is.
Thank you.
And what does that do?
My favorite part of that is a non.
Hold on, there's another new
force.
question. Hold on.
A non-motor non-force.
Hold on, there's a new question from Arwin. What does it do? Now, do you mean what does it conceptually do? Or what does it actually do? What do you mean, Arwin?
Well, you basically define the concept and laid out the perimeter of it, then closed it off. So I'm just asking, so what does that do?
Actually do or conceptually do?
Actually do.
Nothing. It doesn't do anything at all in actuality. It's the bending of a conceptual medium, for God's sake. You can't do anything with that.
Well, I'm just wondering if there's ballers out there that actually disagree with that, and I'd like to see their train of thought to support that argument.
No problem.
Oh no, they just disagree. They're not going to show it.
That's okay. We can hold on. We can lay out parameters. No problem. All I would require, it's not unreasonable to ask for this. I just need them to show me space-time and then them bending it. That's all I'd need.
Well, or if they could somehow
first they have to turn it into a fabric.
Cause something and point at that.
Yeah,
there's this claim of graviton.
I didn't listen,
right?
or
I
don't mind repeating myself. You either didn't listen to what I just said. Yeah, that's fine. They'd have to actually show me space-time and then show me them bending it. That's what they'd need to show.
I know, but
I'm just to play devil's advocate, just to play. Not that I agree with this bending nonsense. Just to play devil's advocate.
Arwin's still trying to get his words out, though. I will promise we'll come to you next, Anon. Go on, Arwin.
Right. So I've heard of claims of the graviton particle, supposedly. So is that kind of the new approach to a physical tie-in with gravity derived from the Einsteinian theory? Or does that really, because it seems so completely separate from the whole Newtonian idea of mass attracted by mass, it's completely unrelated. It just seems a new idea that is just that is now supposed to be gravity, even though it doesn't even remotely relate to anything before that.
I mean,
no directionality on the world, no mass attracting mass, just something else. And it's a mystery what it does.
Well, from what I understand, the effects of gravitons are extremely dangerous. So for all those people out there popping gravitons, don't take too many of them. They're extremely dangerous.
You could create a black hole.
They're known as downers, by the way, gravitons.
It's an epidemic.
Do you believe in defying gravity?
Yeah, oh God. The bending of a conceptual medium known as space-time, which gives rise to a non-force force that you can think of as a force, but isn't actually a force, and it's called gravity. There you go. 4th time for you.
So if you could levitate, you would be defying gravity, right?
There isn't any gravity. There's nothing to defy.
It would have to exist first.
Hold on. His
David.
statement, to summarise his statement, if you could levitate, you could defy a non-force force that you can think of as a force but isn't actually a force. It's not actually a force. You don't need to defy it by levitating. Okay?
So how come we can't float then?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
Oh my
God.
God.
Kind
It
of
doesn't
malformed
Because you're
question is
exist,
this
denser than
now?
air, you doofus.
It doesn't exist, Double D.
Malformed question.
Why would you think we would be
I'm
floating?
kidding with-
Hey, you could
I'm
float
kidding
in a
with you,
swimming
baby.
pool.
Dallas, why would you think we would be floating?
Well, clouds float.
Are you a cloud?
They're less dense.
That was a good one.
Are you a cloud there, Dallas?
Are clouds defying gravity?
No, there is no gravity.
Oh,
Nothing's defying the
Oh my
non-force. Fifth time. Listen to the
how
ending.
can you-
Listen to the ending,
how can
David.
you have-
David.
how can you
David.
have
David.
pressure
David. David. Listen to the end statement. That you can think of as a force, but is not actually a force. Now that not actually a force bit means you don't need to defy it with anything. Okay?
Someone code
Okay.
Newton again.
You got to remember, they think that gravity controls all the gas pressure.
Oh, well, they're wrong.
Who cares what they think?
They're just incorrect.
What controls the gas pressure then?
That's
A
a
non-force
malformed
Beans from
question.
the Mexican food last night.
Hold on. I'm sick of these non sequiturs. Your original assertion, which is incorrect, has nothing to do with your question that followed. This is a malformed question again, David. Do you want to make a
I'm trying to
claim?
take you down
First
the-
of all, David, first make a claim. Now, make sure the claim is sensical and then back the claim. And then if there's any questions that come off the back of your claim that you've backed with cowbell, then we may answer some questions. But start with a completely incorrect assertion and then start asking questions afterwards, and it's going to get me annoyed really fast.
I just said, how can you have gas pressure if you don't have gravity?
Gravity, what? If we don't have something that doesn't do anything in the first instance, it makes no difference if we have it or we don't, David. But it seems me telling you 5 times that it's not actually a force means that you have to ask us why we have things if we don't have something that doesn't do anything. That's malformed, David.
I know, but what's controlling? They at
And
least
back
have
to
a
asking
reason
us something. Maybe you'd like to make a statement that actually makes sense before questioning us on things.
All right, everybody says there's gas pressure. They say that gravity holds this gas pressure in. If it's
No,
not gravity, what
no,
is it?
that's the same thing I just demolished. Everybody says there's gas pressure. No. Often, people don't declare that there's gas pressure because they couldn't give a shit. But there is gas pressure, sod all to do with the appeal to consensus in your first statement. Should we go on pulling this crap apart? Why am I having to educate you on formulating sensible statements?
4 more hours.
I'm just saying that they have a reason why the gas pressure stays on the Earth, and it's gravity.
No, they don't. 6th time. It is not a force. It's not holding gas pressure. It's a conceptual medium. What parts aren't sinking in? You telling me, David, you telling me what other retard fundamentalists have told you what they say is inconsequential here. That is not what gravity can do. It's not what it is doing. And it's not an argument we even need to address. Because it's in principle, the fundamental premise that questions you're asking are based on are wrong.
But you believe in gas pressure, so how can the?
So did you say
Dallas,
you believe
why do
in
you
gas
call yourself
pressure?
a flat earther?
I just smashed this. He just does. It seems like the wankers who come here, right? They don't listen to the rebuttal. So I've already clarified that your first statement was an appeal to consensus, and it matters not whether or not people declare. Now you've taken that appeal to consensus and put it on me, even though I've already taken it apart before you've made that claim. See, I'm smarter than you, David. So before you put your appeal to consensus on me, like it's me that says we have gas pressure, yeah, I already addressed it before you got there. but you still used it because you were too slow to recognise that I'd already caught you out before you even knew what you were going to do.
I'm sorry, we hadn't even got the gas pressure on the house.
Yeah, you've just asserted that I believe in gas pressure, taking your appeal to consensus that I demolished earlier when I said, no, people don't say we have gas pressure. Some people don't even care and never say those words. But we do have gas pressure. Now, I know that's me saying we have gas pressure, but it's an absolute fact. Easy to demonstrate, easy to get people like you who think we don't have gas pressure to concede when they make vacuums. So, no, we do have gas pressure. It's not going to be put on to me like it's something I say, and therefore can be debunked. It isn't. We do have gas pressure. It doesn't need to be undone by a non-force that you seem to want to argue about, David, the flat earther, apparently.
All right. Well, how do you measure gas pressure in the atmosphere then?
A barometer.
Oh.
And a barometer has a vacuum in it, right?
No. Say we're not going down this road again.
We're not
No,
going
no,
down
no.
here, David.
Hey, Double D.
No,
the question
don't take the bait. I've got rid of him. He's not part of the conversation. That's it. That's the end of the conversation. He circle jerked us back to barometers, something from what is now, I think it's about 2 months ago, when he first came in with this crap. Like we haven't heard it, David. Sling Uruk. Go away.
Well, Nathan,
Since Kosho is here, can I ask Kosho a question?
That gives me an opportunity to make a coffee. Very handy.
So much
Kosho,
rather
you there?
Coriolis than gas pressure right now.
Can you hear us, Kosho? Do I need to unmute him or something?
I don't know if he's
He should
muted
be
or not.
unmuted.
No, he's off mute. Mic's all yours. Go ahead, ask Kosho away if unless he's away from his mic, but he's capable of talking.
All right. So, the Kosho's example yesterday of tangential velocity being the reason why helicopters, stay in the same location when they're hovering, is that based off of Newton's first laws, and in particular Newton's laws of motion? Is that what that example was based on?
Yeah, Babs. It's Newton's laws of motion and also Galileo's principle of relativity. So it's in the same reference frame. The reference frame is spinning. Everything on the Earth is going to be moving with it in its rotation. And so whatever speed the Earth is doing at whatever place, everything that's there is going to be doing that speed as well. That's correct.
Okay. So according to Newton's first law, it states that every object will remain at rest or in uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled to change its state by the action of an external force.
That's right.
So would a helicopter flying be an external force?
No, if a helicopter was at rest on the Earth, then it's technically not at rest at all, but that's not it. It's still in the reference frame of the Earth. And so as long as the Earth continues to spin, it's going to continue to be at rest in reference to the Earth. Yeah.
It's at rest, but it's also at motion with the Earth.
Yeah.
Because the Earth is moving.
So depending on how you're discussing it, it's going to remain in whichever one you're talking about. If you're talking about the outside reference frame, the non-inertial reference frame, then yeah, you're right. It's going to remain in motion.
The outside
like that.
isn't
And if
the
you're talking
non-inertial
about in that reference frame, it's
You're
going
all
to remain at
screwed up.
rest.
The outside reference. What's the outside reference frame?
You can be anywhere, anything outside the Earth spinning.
Like what?
Oh, like from the sun or somewhere in some spaceship.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
So
anything
the
outside-
helicopter taking off is not an external force.
Yeah,
Did you
it
say
is a
spaceship?
force. Absolutely. It's got to use lift. Lift is a force.
So if an external force is being applied to that helicopter, why is it maintaining tangential velocity? Because according to Newton's law, an object is going to remain in motion unless an external force acts upon it.
Yep. So the way that the principle of relativity, which is the first we went to, when you're talking about motion, you have to describe it in reference to something else. So there's always reference frames. There's always one object that you're going to focus on staying still. So even though it's not staying still, you have to use it as your reference frame in order to move around.
Okay. Okay.
So the helicopter
hold
hovering
on a second.
above Earth.
List the reference frames with his example. You have the Earth, you have the atmosphere, and you have the helicopter, and you have birds and bees and syrup. Go ahead and list the reference frames in his example, please.
Sir, the syrup is good. We'll just stick with that one. No, it's the Earth. The Earth is a reference frame. The rotating Earth. Anything completely outside of the Earth would be a different one.
Whee! So there's no Coriolis effect on the Earth then?
No, there is. We went through this yesterday. I'm not playing this game with you guys, but Babs had a question, so I thought.
How?
When you say
I'm not playing
completely
the game.
outside of the Earth,
No, you're fine.
what do
That's
we
what I
mean
said,
by
Babs.
that?
Babs, you're cool.
Go ahead, Chocolate.
Well, when you say outside of the Earth, what do you mean by that?
Well, I'm gonna
Kojo?
assume you know what that means, but we can pretend.
No, I'm
that you
trying
don't.
to understand what you mean
from
when
any
you say
position
that,
outside. Yeah, I use two examples, like the sun or a spaceship, for instance. As long as you're outside of the Earth,
The sun or a spaceship? Okay, so a helicopter hovering at 100 feet, that's not out of
it's
the
still,
Earth,
it's still in.
right? So it's still within Earth's reference frame?
That's right.
Yeah,
Which
so
would
where
be
does
the
it begin?
which would be the
Where does the
non-inertial reference frame,
Give us
right?
the limits of the Earth's reference frame.
Well, it's not being influenced by the Earth. It's not being influenced directly by the Earth.
No,
so
give us the
then
limits.
it's not
give
in
us
the Earth's reference
hold on
frame
a second,
then.
Chocolate.
Sorry.
Give
Go.
us the limits of the Earth's reference frame. That means how high up does the Earth's reference frame go in the atmosphere, and where does it stop?
There's not a height or something. It's exactly as I said it. If it's being influenced by the Earth's spin, then it's in the Earth's reference frame. Then it's using the Earth as a stationary object.
That didn't answer my question. Give me the limits of the Earth's reference frame.
I just did, Quantum Eraser. I'm not going to play this game.
No, you didn't. Give us the limits.
No,
of
you
the
want a value.
It,
the answer doesn't come in a value, and I'm sorry that you can't help that, but that's just
But
the way it
Kosho,
is.
these are the words that you're using.
That's the limits of the reference
you
frame.
didn't give me the limits. I need a distance formula.
That's okay. Well, there's not one. So there's that. It's an inertial reference frame. The Earth is rotating. If you're part of that rotating with the Earth, you can move it, use it as a stationary object.
Okay. All right, hang on, everyone, a moment.
Of the Earth's reference frame right now.
The reference frame thing.
Of the Earth's
hold on, John.
is-
Hold on just 1 second. Go ahead, Earth-shaped investigator.
Yeah, you see, this whole reference frame thing is same as like the n-body gravitational problem. You can't just, it doesn't make sense to just oversimplify everything to say you have one reference frame or two reference frames. Because yes, just like you have all the different particles and objects interacting with each other, what is the reference frame at each layer? Like as Quantum Eraser is suggesting, what's the reference frame of bees, of clouds? And then if you go up in a spaceship, at what point do you leave, the Earth's reference frame? Even though you still have the Earth's rotating inertia, you're still subject to its gravity. It's just a totally grotesque oversimplification in my understanding.
Okay, let's use the syrup then, as Quantum Eraser had suggested. First of all, Babs asked me a specific question. I gave him a specific answer. We're talking about the Earth's rotation. We're not talking about bees, and we're not talking about syrup. Okay. If you were the bee, you would still be on the rotational. You'd still be in the reference frame of the Earth. If you were some flowing syrup, you'd still be in the reference frame of the Earth.
Hold on. Go ahead, Kosho.
But then it can only have two reference frames, in my opinion, because then you can't say that everything that is close to the Earth, even if let's say we give it anything that's 50 miles within the 50 miles height from the surface of the Earth is in the reference frame of the Earth. That just doesn't really make sense, because then it's not like a rigid object. It's considered there are fluids, there's soft body physics interactions. It's not
That's
rigid
exactly,
body physics where
exactly why I didn't
everything's
give
just
him a
one.
value.
Wow. Yeah, so it's even hard to define because it's not all just one rigid object.
Yeah, I didn't give him a value for that reason. If you're talking about the reference frame of the Earth, then that's where you have it. When it's on the Earth. If you were talking about some other question which wasn't asked, like if someone was in a spacecraft or an airplane, and you're talking about in the realm of that airplane, you could use that as a reference frame for some reason. But it depends on the question.
So is the airplane in the same reference frame as the Earth?
Yeah, the airplane would be in the reference frame of the Earth. But if you were talking about, if the question were talking about being on the airplane, and the airplane wasn't leaving the Earth, then you can define the reference frame you're talking about as the airplane. It depends on the question. It depends on what you're working on.
Okay, so the airplane that's flying, is that in the same reference frame as the Earth?
Yes.
But then Zanuck was claiming a month back or so that there is Coriolis for airplanes, and that's why there is slightly different times, and that's the explanation for hurricanes or something as well.
Just to make that a bit more concise. Sorry to interrupt, Kosho. So there is no Coriolis effect.
I'm not playing this game. Babs asked one question.
Yeah, I'm making a summary for my audience, and I'll do as I damn well please. So according to Kosho, the plane is in the same reference frame. To have Coriolis, you need them to be in separate reference frames. So Kosho's now fighting for there being no Coriolis effect on Earth. And what Earth-shaped investigator is asking is why Zanuck would argue that Earth does have Coriolis effect. So your position is currently that they're the same reference frame and there is no Coriolis effect. Just for the audience's clarity, Kosho's arguing for no Coriolis effect. Just so it's clear, Kosho. You don't have to like it, you fundy.
That's not what he said, but okay.
I would really like to know at what point does something move out of Earth's non-inertial reference frame?
What, to have Coriolis? That's a good question. Given that Kosho's stating a situation that will not give him Coriolis, what situations give us Coriolis then if they're both the same reference frame, Kosho? Because you're saying we don't have Coriolis effect. Interesting that the globe says they do, and you're saying we don't. Clearly you're wrong, as that's not what the globe rhetoric is. So you're stupid and don't understand your own religion, because you're fighting for no Coriolis at the moment, son.
Mike, discipline people.
Can I say something? Wouldn't it, if an object is
what
moving,
is that noise?
Somebody's
making some
We
noise.
can't hear you.
Yeah, I think maybe
mute their
you
mic.
might have to mute Brian.
It's on Discord.
Mute Brian a bit. Brian, I think you've got some background noise.
You're not talking, try to stay on mute. I'd like a response from Kosho. I'd like to know why, given that globe Earth rhetoric is that you do have Coriolis, separate reference frames for the aeroplane and ground, why he, given that he believes the Earth is a spinning sphere, would be arguing for them being the same reference frame. I'd like an answer to that, given that Earth-shaped investigator has led you here so beautifully.
You're not getting one, Nathan. I don't see him in there. You're not getting an answer, Nathan. He's not here.
What, has he run away?
Gone because he's not here.
He's run away? Yeah, because this is the point where he's made a declaration that there's no Coriolis, they're the same reference frame. Now, the necessary ingredients to have Coriolis effect is 2 reference frames, but Earth-shaped investigator beautifully led him to the point where he declared that they're only one. So what's he done? He's run away, the little bitch! That's what he's done, because he knows he's absolutely screwed. He's fighting for no Coriolis like George. Hey, George. Yeah? Maybe you'd like to have a little discussion with me where you don't get to rumpus the crap out of me, and I get to point out, like with Kosho, that you seem to be arguing for there being no Coriolis with Earth and atmosphere travelling as one now, don't you, George? Yeah? That's why I say you're senile and you're never going to get to sue me for slander, because demonstratable senility, that would be someone declaring Earth and atmosphere travel as one, when the globe rhetoric is that they're travelling separately to give you a Coriolis effect, George. You senile old bastard.
He's a schmuck.
Yes, senile. Clearly he thinks that atmosphere can travel along with Earth. I mean, that's clearly a demonstration of senility. The guy needs committing. Gas doesn't behave like that, George. We've got different directions of surface winds. He just talked through me when I was trying to explain this to him. That's what senile people do. They don't have the ability to listen and process information when they get old. Like an old dog. You know the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's George. It won't sink in that he's wrong. And he's fighting for having no Coriolis when he says Earth and atmosphere travel as one. I thought they do have Coriolis on your globe religion, George. Why would you be fighting for there being not any Coriolis with the one reference frame? Travelling as one reference frame, like the point Kosho just ran away. That's interesting. Why would he run away when we're pointing out that he's demonstrating no Coriolis in this retention of the angular velocity as it moves off the reference frame that's supposed to be giving him Coriolis? Interesting, that'd be the point he ran away, wouldn't it, George? Same point that you rumpus the crap out of me on Ranty's show. Because this is devastating. They must talk over it and obfuscate it or run away when we hold their toes to the fire like cowards. Because George and Kosho are arguing that they've only got one reference frame. And to have Coriolis effect, they need that plane to leave the non-inertial reference frame and enter the inertial reference frame to demonstrate the Coriolis effect. But what's he arguing for? Them travelling together? Senility, it's a cruel thing. The other problem with being senile and being on YouTube is that you poison people like Kosho into the same retarded nonsense. You know, he's just foolish. You're senile, George.
Are you talking about what George did on the show the other day that Ranty is not giving up the video for? Are you talking? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, George had a bit of a moment. Rather than listen to me explaining that his assertion that the Earth and atmosphere travel as one is debunked by multiple surface winds, George chose to have a shave. Now, obviously, this is more demonstration of senility, but what can you do? You know, that was his reaction. Rather than listen, pretend he's performing his bodily functions of a morning like that. That was his reaction. Crazy, but that's what we're trying to detail to the audience and the people who believe him.
Did he actually shave on the video?
Yes, he did, yes.
No way.
No, I'm not joking, no. He hid, often sticking his head out of camera when I got to talk so that he could just ignore what I said when he popped back into view.
Shaved what?
Is that the one that Ranty won't... Is that the video that Ranty won't give up?
Look, I'm not Ranty. You can't appeal to me in this regard. I know what you're doing.
Ranty, guess what? I have that video now. No thanks to you, sir, but I got it.
Ranty's video. Right. Only this morning I was pointing out to Ranty that within a very short period of time you've become a proper YouTuber. You're a force to be reckoned with. He'll need shout-outs from you soon. He needs to keep you on side. He needs to stop pissing you off. All this kind of stuff. I also highlighted that I say similar things to you about Ranty. Nevertheless, please, for the love of Christ, do not enter into this where you end up with Ranty giving you a copyright strike or something. Please, God, don't let this descend.
No. I won't. I'm just messing with him. But that, yeah. I'm just messing with him. But Georgie, I'll tell you what, boy. And he's going back on for another video? Are you, Nathan, will you be around?
No, the guy sickens me. I mean, I got my wife coming in going, look, if you continue shouting at midnight, I'm going to divorce you. And I'm like, I'm not even kidding, though. That's pretty much verbatim what she said to me, because she was pissed off at midnight while I'm getting all emotional about George. Because he's left an impression because of Brian Mullen, you know. And Brian Mullen's invested time in his career path. He's had the courage to step forward about something that's blatantly incorrect, a lie we're being told. In fact, the biggest deception in mankind's history. And he's prepared to step up on a pedestal, and then some senile old bastard comes along and says, I'm going to destroy this man's career because, why? I don't understand how Coriolis works. So, essentially, Brian Mullen's detailing what we detail here about Coriolis effect. The plane journey would be reduced in duration if the Earth spins underneath. In order for there to be a Coriolis effect, Earth spins underneath. Now, George is asserting that Earth doesn't spin underneath. It travels with the atmosphere, flying in the face of Coriolis, the thing that Brian Mullen got absolutely correct in his assertions of what is required for Coriolis and what is not demonstratable on Earth to have Coriolis. George didn't understand and attacked the man by going after the person who supplied him with a license to do his job, something he undoubtedly invested heavily in to progress his career, his family, his general well-being in life. So some old git in the last years of his life going after a young man's career, I can feel it now. My blood is starting to boil.
Yeah.
And that's what Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I feel it. Yeah. And somebody told me that he was denying that.
Yeah, he still denies it. No, I didn't. You've got it all wrong. That kind of thing.
When we had him on the show and exposed him, he's finished.
He's a liar as well. That's how these people behave. They are disgusting human beings, and I find most of their behaviour abhorrent just in the debate, let alone in regards to how they will treat people in their actual lives. Destroy another man's career. And John summed it up on another show. He's like, he doesn't have to contact him and tell him that he's gone out killing people. He just has to contact him and go, do you know this guy Brian Mullen? Oh yeah. That's all he needs to do to destroy the man's career. He knows it. We know it. He can pass it off like, oh, well, I only contacted him about this, that, and the other. Yeah, you contacted him about
Nathan.
Sorry, Babs.
Nathan,
go on.
what?
Round out. I just want to.
He placed a seed of suspicion.
Before you round out, I just want to ask a quick question here. Did Kosher actually answer my question?
No, he ran away.
When I asked if the helicopter is in motion, while it's on Earth, and the helicopter's engine causes that helicopter to hover, isn't that an external force acting upon it? So it wouldn't maintain Earth's tangential velocity if it has an external force acting upon it, according to Newton's laws of motion.
I'm pretty sure he was quite keen to answer your question. The problem was that I stepped in and pointed out that in order for you to be asking that question, he would need to be arguing for us having no Coriolis effect. Which is absolutely the case, because you're saying, oh, well, the other day Zanuck explained that planes do deviate. They do have the Earth rotating underneath, right? Well, you're saying your position, Zanuck, Kosho, is Earth isn't rotating underneath.
No. So we have the reference frame, the non-inertial reference.
Shut up, Zanuck. I'm going to concisely summarise it again, thanks to the fundy obfuscation that came right at the end of my conclusion. I was 99% there as well, Zanuck. But thank you for interrupting the end of my conclusion with a no. When we weren't talking about you specifically. You assert, as the fundy rhetoric of the globe is in effect right now, Coriolis is in effect on Earth. Therefore, 2 reference frames. Therefore, Earth rotating underneath. Like you on a roundabout with a drone. You rotate underneath it. It's as simple as that. That's what gives you Coriolis. Now, your wingman that you tried to defend moments ago asserted that it retains the tangential velocity. It goes along with Earth, along with the atmosphere. It's not deviating. No Coriolis effect. And when I absolutely pointed out how absurd it is that he would take a stance against Coriolis, with Earth and atmosphere travelling as one, or tangential velocity retention, he's saying there is no Coriolis. And that's where he ran away, Zanuck.
Let me explain. There's two reference frames that we're talking.
There is 2 reference frames. What? Earth spins underneath the inertial reference frame. Someone's muttered it. I clarify it nice and clearly and loud, and then they go silent. So there's 2 Who was I just talking to? Not you, Zanuck. Someone else just declared. Zanuck, not you. Someone else stepped up to the mic. Who was that? Zanuck, I'm going to shut your mic down completely unless you let the person who just made a declaration.
It was the Wardy.
Hey. So we have 2 reference frames. Wardy.
Hey, let's be nice to the Wardy. Wardy's nice.
Yeah. So we have 2 reference frames, my friend. Yeah. Earth spinning underneath the inertial reference frame, correct?
Yeah, sure.
No, not sure. If Earth span underneath an aeroplane, a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina, typically about 4 or 4.5 hours, would take an hour and a half because Earth was spinning underneath, my friend. So no, not if you like. Not at all. Earth doesn't spin underneath. There is no observable Coriolis effect. There is no shortened durations when flying west. So no, Earth isn't spinning.
Do you want an explanation, or do you just want to continue your...
What, an explanation for why there is no demonstrable Coriolis effect? Maybe you'd like to tell us about the situation that will give rise to no Coriolis effect, like George Netanyahu, and tell us how Earth and atmosphere travel as one. Maybe that would be your explanation for why we don't observe that Coriolis effect that you're now trying to argue for by explaining away why we don't see it. Or maybe a long protracted silence is what we need, while I point out again that to have Coriolis, you'd need the Earth rotating underneath balls, like asserted by Neil deGrasse Tyson, like underneath bullets, as asserted by George Netanyahu, like underneath planes, like asserted by Zanuck and the citation provided by Kosho. You'd need it rotating underneath, and having a shortened duration when flying west, because the Earth rotates underneath. My bad, it doesn't. We don't observe the Earth rotating underneath. Earth doesn't rotate.
Are you finished?
No, your globe religion is, though.
Can someone unmute Zanuck so he can continue his explanation?
Why, you were the one. You said we've got 2 reference frames. That was your gambit that you muttered. And I got clarity. 2 reference frames. Earth rotating underneath then, Sunshine. Let's stay here now. You just tried to pass the baton to Zanuck. So you declared 2 reference frames. One of those would be Earth rotating underneath, wouldn't it, my friend? If you like. Right?
Coriolis force
Do you not remember the if you like bit?
That rotates with a constant angular velocity to the reference frame.
Yeah, underneath. Yeah, the reference frame being the inertial reference frame that the plane's travelling through, and you're now saying Earth rotates underneath that inertial reference frame.
If you're just going to talk through me, I'll go quiet again.
I just clarified your position. Tangential velocity of the Earth rotating underneath an aeroplane. That's what I'm clarifying. 2 reference frames, your fundamentalist religious position. I'm summarising it.
You can't summarise 4 words, Nathan.
I only need
what?
I only need 2. Reference frames.
Hello.
Hey, again,
Over.
Yeah, you say
Am
we've
I
got
allowed
2
to
of them.
explain, or
You
is
say
Nathan
we've
gonna
got
just talk
2.
through me again. Oh, there he goes. There we go.
There was a long pause. I started talking, and then you claim I'm talking through you after a long sodding pause. Over. Just want to point out that was a 5-second pause with me clarifying that you had air to talk by saying over. So I'm not talking through you, fundamentalist religious zealot, who's just asserted we have 2 reference frames, one of which would be the Earth turning underneath an aeroplane. You want to go from there? Maybe tell me I'm talking through you when I now give you absolute free reign to justify that horse shit. Over.
Okay, define a reference frame.
A frame that you will reference things in. The clue's in the title.
Okay, fine. So the frame that we're referencing things in is Earth, is it not?
That would be the non-inertial reference frame.
That's one of them. Where is the other one?
Fine. Define the inertial reference frame.
That would be the space you go into when you leave the non-inertial reference frame. For example, you hold a drone in your hand. It spins with you on the non-inertial reference frame. Upon leaving the spinning non-inertial reference frame, it enters the inertial reference frame. Is that clear?
Right. The Coriolis force exists in a frame that rotates with a constant angular velocity to a reference frame. It's a separate frame.
That's nice. And?
Right. So where is the other one?
Hold on. And?
What do you mean and?
And? What's your conclusion? And we have 2 reference frames on Earth with a plane in the inertial reference frame and Earth spinning underneath, as you've declared when you said we do have 2 reference frames.
You spent the last hour claiming that because there's only 1 reference frame, there's no possible way that Coriolis can exist.
No.
That's your position.
Sorry, that would be your position and George's position and Kosho's position when you claim that the Earth and the item leaving the non-inertial reference frame retains the speed and for some reason the direction it's spinning in. I don't really know how that works. Oh, it doesn't work. But that's what they're claiming.
Yeah, it doesn't.
A non-Coriolis effect by having them as one reference frame. That would be our pointing out their position that contradicts having a Coriolis effect. You're taking the standard fundamentalist globe line as portrayed by Neil deGrasse Tyson. You're saying there's two reference frames. And like with the roundabout, when you leave the non-inertial reference frame in, say, an aeroplane, the person who remains on the non-inertial reference frame would see the plane deviating. Not because it's actually curving, it's travelling in a straight line, but the Earth rotates underneath. Now that's your position, the right position, the correct bullshit. We just rip that bullshit to pieces by pointing out that you'd have shortened durations of flights if the Earth was rotating underneath to generate a Coriolis effect. Comprende esse?
No, you wouldn't. You've still got to travel the same distance.
There's some very persistent cognitive dissonance going on here, Nathan.
You're not leaving the non-inertial reference frame when you get into the sky.
Oh, well then you're not having any Coriolis effect, you complete moron. In order to generate a Coriolis effect, you must leave the non-inertial reference frame. This is really simple. Coriolis isn't complicated. To have Coriolis, don't interrupt me. To have Coriolis, you must leave the non-inertial reference frame. So it seems that you're saying you don't. Well then what, one reference frame unlike your claim of two? Oh, seems you've got some fundamental retardedness going on, friend. You're arguing for two reference frames. You're saying you don't leave the first?
I asked Kosho before.
You're saying you don't leave the first. You're here to argue for two reference frames, bonehead. Why are you now arguing that you stay in the first when you're trying to argue that we've got two? Seems you don't understand Coriolis very well.
For Coriolis, you have two, but when you're talking about flights, it's a different thing altogether.
Oh, well then, if we're not talking about having two reference frames when we talk about flights, we're not talking about having Coriolis, are we? So it seems like Kosho and George, you're arguing for us not having Coriolis.
You don't leave the non-inertial reference frame.
Then you don't have Coriolis. Hello?
If you say so.
If you don't leave, you don't have Coriolis. What part of this aren't you getting? You're here, stupid person, to argue that you do have two reference frames. So why on God's green earth are you now telling me about how you don't leave the first one, when that's precisely what must happen to have Coriolis?
Because it happens in the non-inertial reference frame that you don't leave.
What happens?
No, you don't get Coriolis in the non-inertial reference frame. No, it's leaving the non-inertial reference frame. Why am I going? This is the sixth time I've said this.
Can I ask you the same question that I was trying to ask Kosho before?
Hold on. I want to ask him something.
I feel drunk listening to all this, and I haven't
you can,
heard
but you can ask it in the after show. So with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in live on the Nathan Oakley live stream. But if you are watching this on Nathan Oakley 1980, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. A massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this live show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you for tuning in, smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing. I think there was actually one extra super chat that I didn't read out. So a massive shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat, who says, Nathan Oakley, the best globe zombie slayer on our flat Earth. Well, I'm sure that's not necessarily the case. QE is a monster. So yes, a massive thank you for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley 1980, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!